Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the SLDC Special Board of Directors meeting being held on March 5th, 2024 at 2:01 p.m. I would like to call the meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Director Arnold?
Here.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard?
Here.
Director Gilbert?
Here.
Director McBride?
Here.
Director Reed?
All right, here.
And Chair Richardson.
Present. We have a quorum. So the first item on the agenda that we have today is resolution number 24 SLDC 930, authorizing the obligation of up to $500,000 via subgrants for the brownfield related activities from the SLDC Brownfield Cleanup Fund for land acquisition and pre-development activity. I'll pass it over to Mr. Peter Phillips for the presentation.
All right, thank you and good afternoon. 24 SLDC 930, as described again, we're seeking authorization to obligate up to $500,000 for this program, and this money is coming from a revolving loan fund program, a grant that SLDC has with the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. And so what that is it's a periodic, it's a revolving loan fund grant that we have for environmental remediation purposes. We can make loans and subgrants from this. The money that I'm seeking to obligate is specifically from a previously closed revolving loan fund grant. This is one that was originally received back in 2004 and was closed a few years ago, but loans were made under that grant and have since been repaid. And so those funds are now, we're seeking to continue to revolve them. And so once they are revolved and once the original grant is closed, it does open up some ability. Normally in the revolving loan fund program, only remediation is allowed for subgrants and loans. But once the grant is closed and we enter into what's called post-closeout, it allows you to do additional assessment and due diligence as well as cleanup, as long as the money is managed per the post-closeout agreement with the EPA and for brownfield purposes. So what I'm seeking here in the program that I've identified for the land acquisition and pre-development, you'll see that kind of mirrors very closely to my title. Actually, it's another program that we are running here and that is run through the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority. And that is the purpose of that program, is to be a little more proactive in seeking out and acquiring sites that we can put together for redevelopment opportunities to create jobs, increase tax base, etc. And that is being funded largely from an ARPA program that has flowed from the city of St. Louis to the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority for those purposes. And it allows for the acquisition, the due diligence, and the maintenance and pre-development costs, such as environmental demolition, soil movement, etc. And so while that fund does allow for some of the environmental due diligence and remediation that we might be doing, tying it together with these funds from the EPA revolving loan fund makes those dollars go further. You know, like it just allows us to do more with the land acquisition fund, purchase more, do more pre-development, and it's exactly what this fund from the EPA is used for. And so it's just trying to tie these two programs together and to make sure that the funds are more effective, more useful, and go further. Now, you'll see, though, that with this program, the $500,000 total is kind of an aggregate. It will be identified. It may be for one particular site. It may be for multiple particular sites. They haven't yet been identified. But the purpose of bringing it to you now is so that this helps us structure the budget and the actual strategy and plan for that program if we know we have additional dollars obligated towards it, so that we can, you know, better plan for the sites that we target. We know how much we have in the budget. So that is the idea. And then when we have those sites identified, before we move on the expenditure of the funds, we will bring back specific sub-grant agreements for those particular sites for your approval after we get to a point to we understand and have an estimate for what those costs might be per each individual site. So that is the goal. Again, is seeking authorization to just, I wanted to go back to a couple other things. So in that pile, that closed post-closeout grant, currently there's a little bit less than $800,000 available. So I included the language for up to. Obviously, we can't expend more money or disperse more money than we have. So it would be, again, since I don't have a full idea of the estimate per site, it would just be up to that total amount for 500,000. And then based on site specifics, it'll be a little bit less here, a little bit less there. As we can't go over about $780-ish thousand total what's left in the post closeout. So I wanted to bring that up. And then once again, as we have identified the sites, bring it back for the approval for the individual subgrants. And those will be to the property owner and the owner of, or the manager of the program, which will be done under the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority. And they will also have signatory on those subgrants. And we'll bring those back. So that is the idea. At this point, I would entertain any questions you may have about the EPA revolving loan program or the land acquisition redevelopment program itself.
Sure. I would like to recognize Director McBride's hand being raised.
Well, thank you. Peter, could you go through that $500,000, $800,000 limit again? I don't think I tracked exactly everything that you were saying. And
okay,
that's
yes.
on me, but I apologize if you could just do that a little bit.
No, I did glance over pretty quickly. So I'll go back to the 800,000 is just under 800,000 is how much is left in the SLDC post closeout EPA grant that we would have to disperse for sites for this activity. So, it could have been up to 800,000 for this program or 780. That's just how much money is left that has been revolved in the revolving loan fund program. So for this purpose, to tie it to the land acquisition and redevelopment program, I'm seeking up to $500,000 to pair from the EPA grant, 500 of the almost 800 to this program. And that would leave about an additional 300,000. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but that would leave about 300,000 left to obligate or disperse to other projects. And so that's kind of where that comes from. This
Okay,
grant,
it is for other projects. Okay.
yes.
Very good. I will listen to Director Gilbert and go over the notes further. Thank you.
Yeah, but my question was, have all the loans that were under this program now been repaid or written off or whatever, or should we expect more additional to still be paying and this fund could go up?
No, they have all been fully repaid or closed out. There were a couple years early in the program, there were a couple loans that were made in subgrants. Some of those loans actually fell out and they were never repaid. But the most recent loans that we made was on the Armory project, and that was fully paid back. The loan has been successful and was repaid plus interest, and that is where this balance comes from. It's the loans that were repaid and were successful, and that's where we have this money left that we are looking to redistribute and to other projects.
Okay, so we're expecting this 800,000 to be it.
Yes, yes, correct. Unless, it was diverted to other projects, then, it would be slowly repaid over those, loans, or maybe not. If they were subgrants, the grants aren't expected to be repaid. But no, I do not expect that balance to increase any further over and above interest accrued from sitting in an account. But I will mention, I do report on this money, even though it is technically a closed grant. I still do report on this to the EPA every year. And they do still have authority to see that if we are not using these funds, we can then no longer apply for new funds because we have funds sitting idle that we're not using. So there is a benefit that comes from being able to apply for more funding from the EPA if we do tie these to, projects and programs.
Thank you.
Sorry, to summarize, Peter, we need to have this approximately $780,000 obligated as a way for us to be able to go after additional dollars, because the 780,000, as you noted, was really paid back from one project. And I mean, one project could take all of these funds and then we'll be left idle without any additional proceeds to lend out or allocate to other projects that may need them for the purpose of brownfield cleanup.
Correct. Yes. And again, I just want to make sure that I talk about like the program of the land assemblage and redevelopment is about targeting vacant, abandoned, underutilized, potentially contaminated properties to get them back into reuse, which is the exact purpose and goal of the EPA revolving loan fund. So the missions and the objectives match up exactly. And so it seems like a perfect fit to just, try to pair these different funding and programs together to accomplish the same thing and make the money go further. Otherwise, it would be kind of, waiting for those who may be a good fit or a good candidate to apply to the program, vet them and, apply it that way. This way, it applies to our proactive, programs and sites that we're going to identify and use here, and make sure we get it put to use instead of kind of waiting for the right candidate to come along.
Any other questions from the directors as it relates to resolution number 930? Okay. Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 24 SLDC 930.
So move, Gilbert.
Second, McBride.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Director Arnold.
Here.
Yes. Alderwoman Clark-Tilbert.
Aye.
Director Gilbert.
Aye.
Director McBride.
Aye.
Director Reed.
Aye.
And Chair Richardson.
Aye. That the motion passes to approve resolution number 24 SLDC 930. The next resolution that we have is resolution number 24 SLDC 931, authorizing the obligation of up to $300,000 via subgrant for brownfield related activities from the SLDC Brownfield Cleanup Fund for pre-development activity at 3940 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. With that, I'll pass it back over to Peter.
Yes, thank you. So this is a very similar situation and request for this resolution, and it's seeking authorization to obligate the remainder of the almost $800,000 of this program. So up to $300,000 from that same revolving loan fund program from EPA, but this one for a different program or activity. This is another ARPA funded related project, that this one is targeted specifically at one property in particular, 3940 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. It's that is a former Killer Electric Manufacturing Company site, and LCRA has gone about and purchased that site as part of this ARPA funded program, where we're looking to turn it into kind of a community space, workforce development space, office space, with satellite offices for other city departments, as well as, the Land Reutilization Authority of the city of St. Louis, et cetera. And so we're in that process. We've acquired that with those ARPA funds. We're going through the design and environmental due diligence process as well. We did do a phase one on that one already before we acquired that, but it does require a little bit more environmental assessment and likely a little bit of remediation, which I say likely. I can assume some things, but I don't want to say yes or no for sure, but without that due diligence yet. But to finish the due diligence and then apply some of that funding to any remediation necessary for renovations to that building as we continue on through that process. And again, the whole goal of that other ARPA funded program related to 3940 Dr. Martin Luther King is the acquisition, the maintenance, design, and then ultimately the renovation of that building into this hub for the community there. And so again, while that ARPA funded program, we did build in to that programmatic agreement from the ARPA funds that flow from the CDA to LCRA, the ability to do environmental work by having this money attributed to that site directly. Again, it opens up the rest of that budget for more design, more money for maintenance required. We're doing things like secure 24/7 security at the site, et cetera. So the ARPA funds can go to that. And then we can tie these monies that must be used for environmental purposes to the environmental purposes at this site and free up the money for other things from the ARPA side. That site was acquired in October. And since then, we have been doing some due diligence. We've begun to engage the architects and engineers to do some of the evaluation of the building and to start the design process. And I'm looking to move fairly quickly on the additional assessment and potential remediation for renovations on that site. And so this would allow us to move pretty quickly. And I do also want to say one more thing too. Again, this will be brought back once we have a little bit more information about the exact dollar amount after we finalize the budget amount on each category for this and the others. The actual subgrant and the agreement that we would be asking LCRA and SLDC to enter into will be brought back for approval at that time with the terms and everything of that subgrant. And so that is essentially it. I will open it up for questions at this time.
Any questions related to this resolution? Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 24 SLDC 931.
I'll make the motion. I want to get my name in the minutes.
Thank you, Director. Do I have a second?
Second.
Did I have one in the room? Maybe Director Anderson?
Director Arnold, I think maybe beat it by a second.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second by our newest board members. Thank you. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Arnold,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark-Hilbert,
Let's come back to her.
okay, Director Gilbert,
Aye.
Director McBride,
Aye.
Director Reed, and Chair Richardson.
Aye. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. There she is. She's off mute now. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, do you have a vote?
Hi, I'm sorry.
No, I know you're probably multitasking. I appreciate you for being in attendance. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we recorded your vote. With all aye votes, the motion passes to approve the resolution. The next item is the open agenda director's report. And I want to pass it over to our Vice President of Neighborhood Transformation, Mr. Darrell Smith, who will give an update on the town hall, the first town hall that was held at the O'Fallon neighborhood on February 29th, 2024, that included Baden, North Point, North Riverfront, and Riverview neighborhood. So I'll pass it over to Darrell to give an update on recap of the meeting itself and the plan for future meetings.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Would you like to show the video first or the presentation?
You give the presentation first, then we'll show the video. Thank you. Darrell.
Okay, no problem. All right, so this was very exciting. We had our first neighborhood transformation town hall meeting at the O'Fallon Recreation Center. We had over 75 community residents attend. If we can go to the next slide. And ideally, the goal for these neighborhood transformation town halls is to get information to community about what we're doing in SLDC, right? And so when we look at the economic justice plan, we want to make sure that all of the promises that have been made, that we demonstrate those promises, right? That we can pull together for community members all of the offerings. I think since Neil Richardson has taken over SLDC, there's been so many initiatives and programs that have been started, and that have, really, he's really done a great job of pushing all the things that we said that we would do. And I want to be able to demonstrate that to community, give them the information about all of the programs, all of the demonstration areas. And then that's our piece. That's to give them information, but also it's an opportunity to get feedback around all of the things that we're doing, the programs and initiatives, whether it's LRA, whether it's, programs with CDA or PDA, the small business grant. And so the goal of this neighborhood transformation town halls is to interface and really engage with community at a resident level about what's happening in the city with SLDC. And so I think it was very successful. We had several presenters there. If we can go to the next slide. First, we announced the team. We had Neil Richardson kind of give an overview of what SLDC is, in a way to demonstrate to community members, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is, the economic justice plan and how that relates to you as a resident. And then there was time for questions. We then had, I went and I talked about the neighborhood managers. We introduced each of them. We talked about this map so that people would understand where these neighborhood managers are and how that relates to who they are, where they are, who is their neighborhood transformation manager. If they have issues with a small business or if they have questions around different programming in SLDC, who can they go to? And so they were able to physically meet those folks. And then if you can go to the next slide. And we just talked about, I also introduced this new neighborhood transformation report that I'm building. So what we want to do with these neighborhood transformation town halls is to have them in each zone once a quarter. To complement these town halls, before we have the town hall, we want to have a neighborhood transformation report. And in that report, it will detail all of the things that are specific to that area in regards to development, LRA, vacancies, housing, both in that area and citywide. And it'll just go through very high level understanding of what's happening. So people will have in their hands, both digitally and physically, these reports that then when we do the town hall, they can ask questions about where we are. And so it'll highlight progress on developments specific to their ward. It will provide local and citywide information on small business development and housing, and information about LRA properties and different programs with our partners. Now, what's interesting about this is I invited staff from PDA, I invited staff from CDA. Noel was there to give information about different programs. And it was just great for residents to be able to touch these folks and ask certain specific questions that they may not otherwise get access to. And so on the next slide, we thought it was a great turnout. The public seemed to be very, very encouraged that we are making this commitment to give them information, and then they're able to give us some feedback. One other very interesting thing about this specific meeting was that there are some issues around security in Baton neighborhood and certain neighborhoods in this cluster. And so we had the captain of that district come out as well as a part of the town hall to answer any questions, introduce himself, meet people, and kind of give that extra touch. And so the goal is to make sure that community is informed and that they know who we are and they can approach us, we can answer questions. One thing that I will say that was pretty good feedback is we did invite the different alder people in that ward and adjacent to that ward, but we needed to give them a little bit more headway. We were kind of on a very strict timeline, but in moving forward for the next town halls, I'm meeting with each alder person to make sure that they know what this town hall is all about. I can go through our goals and objectives, and also figure out how we can partner to collaborate on this initiative. And so if you have any questions about that, I'm here.
Thank you for that presentation, Darrell. I would love to give a quick recap, a video recap, and then we'll close out the meeting. I don't know if Becky or Sarah has that video that can be shared. We don't have sound if you're trying to show sound.
Mm.
Still no sound if possible. Sarah, Becky,
Sorry, I was having problems earlier when we were practicing with my sound again. And so Celeste was going to play it because she was able to get it to work. And it looks like she's having problems too.
I love technology.
Uh-huh. So let me see if I can try it again on my end. Can you hear sound yet?
No, we don't see the video at all.
Okay. Let me.
And we can share it at the later board meeting this month as well.
All right.
Still no sound.
Still no sound.
Yeah.
Doggone it.
Mhm.
Well,
Okay.
shoot.
We'll be sure to share it out as a link with the board, just so you all have the video for your files. I think it's important that you all understand that the information that comes from the board SLDC board of directors that are approved on a monthly basis and reviewed, that we're communicating progress to the community, we're receiving feedback from the community, and that's part of what informs our strategy as we move forward, as we're developing new programs, products, and services to better support economic development across all 79 neighborhoods. And the neighborhood transformation team will be critical to collect that feedback and organizing these town halls. But then also, as we are rolling out programs and initiatives and making progress in the community, that they are understanding what development is happening. And we also are providing information as it relates to incentives, tax abatements, grant programs, other loan products and services that we have at our disposal, and how they get access to them. So it was critical for us to continue to hold these meetings, to have that face-to-face contact with neighborhood organizations, residents, and businesses. So again, thank you, Darrell, and your team for your support and leadership. With that, if there's no other questions or feedback from the directors, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn. But prior to doing that, I also want to ensure that the board is aware of our next board meeting is scheduled at our regular time, Thursday, March 24th, 2024 at 8 a.m. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Gilbert.
Second, McBride.
No, motion and second. We will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for your time and your willingness to join at the special board meeting to get some extremely emergency situation handled so we can go after more proceeds to better support economic development in the city. You all have a great rest of your week. See you on the